Welcome to Fabulous Women Over 40, hosted by celebrity stylist Kara Allan. Join Kara as she interviews amazing women, sometimes younger and amazing men as well, in their 40s and beyond. Here's Kara with our Fabulous Woman of the Day.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Fabulous Women Over 40. I'm your host, Kara Allan, a personal stylist and branding expert with over 22 years of experience helping women and men create powerful presences through their appearance. This podcast is dedicated to celebrating the incredible women over 40 and sometimes under who are redefining what it means to be fabulous at any age. Today, the incredible Jennie Sikes, founder of Ascending Dawn Doula, joins me. Jennie's journey took her from corporate recruiting to spiritual guiding, and now she helps people navigate life's biggest transitions with clarity, compassion, and a touch of magic. She has many tools in her toolkit, and Jennie supports everything from career shifts and spiritual awakenings to end-of-life care. This is a soul-deep conversation about returning to your purpose, honoring every season of life, and reconnecting with the wisdom within. Welcome, Jennie, to Fabulous Women Over 40. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. How exciting.
I love it. This is our third-ish conversation. So
yeah,
and this is going to be deep. So I'm excited.
We're going to have some fun.
Yes. So tell me about your journey from corporate recruiting to spiritual guiding, because that's really unique, right? Can you take us back to the moment when you knew it was time to pivot, when the corporate life no longer fit you?
Such a great question. Okay, so when I started my career, I was actually going into nursing, and I thought that was going to be my career path. Mm-hmm. And I quickly found out that hands-on is not for me. I didn't even know back then of such a thing as a highly sensitive person or an empath, but I quickly realized that nursing, while I just am in awe of those in the medical profession, nursing was not going to be my cup of tea. So I went into corporate world, right? Mm-hmm. And just kind of fell into recruiting. So I started at the front desk, answering phones, taking notes, doing projects, catering, all of that fun stuff, really learning how to be a people person for my introvert self, my previous introvert self, which is now ambivert, kind of teeter on both sides, and I fell into recruiting. And with recruiting, I did that for, now it's 18 years. But with recruiting, you're meeting each and every single person where they are at, which is fabulous. And so I found out through just the course of time that people were coming to me, whether they wanted a shoulder to cry on, whether they wanted to talk about a relationship, whether they wanted to talk about their boss or the politics of the company or what have you. Every human being, they're not clocking in, clocking out. They've got emotions that are going with their day to day. And so with that, I just kind of fell in love with the recruiting path. But I will tell you, right around the late 2019 timeframe into 2020, where things definitely shifted for all of us on a collective. Yeah. Right. People weren't hiring. I was in a very beautiful space because I was still granted the luxury of the position I had, even though we weren't hiring. And I connected with my management team and, just keeping on. But with that, there was space and there was time where I could further develop and enhance my overall career, not just the recruiting component. So I sat down at my desk and I wrote down on my notebook all the different modalities that I do, and I circled the ones that really resonated with me, and I just kind of felt into it. So what's next? Yeah, you can do Reiki. What are you going to do with it? Yeah, you can pull cards. What are you going to do with it? Yes, you can do this. What are you going to do with it? And what's missing? That was the other component. What's missing? So looking at that, it was like end-of-life doula. There's something about the transition of present to the next step in our journey that really called my name, that would round out those modalities. And I got super excited because it was now more than just corporate recruiting. And if corporate recruiting filled my heart, but there's so much more. There's so much more than the 9 to 5 of things. So that really was the catalyst into the next space and the development of Ascending Dawn Doula.
So, and a doula, when I think of a doula, I think of a woman who's giving birth and needs a
Sure.
doula. So to have an end of life care, it was so unique and different to me. Can you give us a
Yeah.
little insight into how that actually works and what purpose does it serve for the person?
Yes, such a great question. All these are so far so great. I love these. So birth doulas, I will say, kudos again. Out of my league. Out of my league. It terrifies me. I'm going to leave that to the professionals. But the end
Oh
of
my God.
life phase, regardless of the age, once you hit a certain time in your journey, you are reaching either palliative care or hospice care. And palliative is like for the long term. You know that eventually you're on this last leg, if you will, for lack of a better phrase.
Mm.
And then with hospice care, you're within that 6-month stretch. You're in the home stretch. But that home stretch is as if you were 7, 8, 9 months pregnant. You're in the home stretch of being born. This home stretch is you're in the next phase of transitioning to your next part of your journey, which is intimidating for some. And there are lots of people in this world who are not comfortable with the idea of death and what comes with it and what comes after it. So my role in all of that is to ease any of the nervousness, speak to the possibilities of afterlife, provide quality of life, right? We don't want to just put somebody in a corner and just leave them be. No, we want to provide the patient and the family and the friends the most loving, cherished memories as one is departing through that final decline into the next space of their, and they are birthing a new adventure, right?
Yeah, true.
So
not the one that we think about, but yeah.
No. And I've been given the opportunities by our creator, by the universe, just to meet with people in those phases at the right time, at the right pace of myself as well, right? Because sometimes people aren't comfortable jumping right in, just getting acclimated, like learning and growing and techniques. Non-medical though. Let me say non-medical.
Right. And that's so interesting because when you think about it, I mean, it could be a privilege and it could be a scary thing, right? But like people die every day in car accidents and they don't have that thing that happens. They're just gone, right? So then, but I know my grandmother when she had a brain tumor, and so they operated. They got out as much as they could, but it was like a grapefruit size, and then there was like little pieces that were, in different places that if they dug too much, they were just going to lose who she was. So they did as much as they could. They did point radiation, and then they put her on like some sort of medication to kind of help keep it down, but then it started messing up everything else. It was, all of her bodily function, her organs and things. So it was so incredibly like, I don't know, for me, knowing her as this vibrant, talkative woman to just go from not saying anything and just sort of looking at you. And my grandfather really wanted to make her transition easier by having her home for hospice care and whatnot.
Beautiful.
But it would have been nice to have something, like what you do, because I knew the last time I saw her, it was going to be the last time I saw her. I knew that she was going to transition. And so I just think it helps everybody. And maybe even the person, you don't want to even know how much the person is really understanding what's happening or what their brain function is, if they have dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever's going on. You just don't know. But it would be, it sounds like just such a beautiful thing to be able to offer that to people.
It is. There's also a sense of sometimes there's awkwardness because here comes this individual who does not know you from anybody coming into your home and getting acclimated to the patient's routines, their likes, their dislikes, if there is dementia or if there's Alzheimer's, or if it's like the most current one that I have. He's on the decline. He's aware of it. And he's more worried about his wife and his grown children and the fact that he's losing these motor controls, the ability to do many things. And he does not want to be dependent, yet he has no option, right? So again, meeting people where they're at, and the more that you meet these folks and the family and you get to know them and they get to know you too, right? You develop a friendship, a companionship, and a healthy distraction from any discomfort that they might be having. And the fact that your grandfather provided that for your grandmother is a beautiful, beautiful scenario.
Yeah, it is. I've been in a few not to say that they're all like that, but I've been in some of those end of life care facilities, and some of them, it's like, man, I told my husband last time we were in there because I had to sign a POA for somebody. I was like, please don't stick me in here. Please don't leave me in here if I ever get to that point. Just don't.
Yeah.
We got to figure something else out. But, no, we're not doing that.
It's
and
tough.
I wouldn't do that for him either, because good Lord, like, no.
Yeah. Well, and then with some of these folks, they don't have the extra hands or the extra help. And the nurses for hospice care, they have so many different patients they have to take care of. So they're there for maybe an hour, 2 hours a week, and the social worker's there for an hour, 2 hours a week, and the rest of the care is dependent on the family. So bringing in an end-of-life doula, a death doula, is ideal. So it helps all parties involved.
Yeah. What a beautiful thing, and a beautiful gift that you get to offer people. That's amazing. I love that.
Yep.
So what did your own spiritual awakening look like? I know you said at some point you did the transition with your corporate, because I mean, I was in corporate too, and that was a whole nother story, but we talked about that. And so, but was it like a gradual thing, or was it like you had this lightning bolt one day, or like something shifted? Like, what happened for you?
It was numbers, signs, and synchronicities. It's like, what is happening? Why am I seeing 1111? Why am I seeing 316 and 444 and 555 and 777? I mean, okay, so I'm seeing all these numbers, and I'm telling you, the cloud that I have on my phone filled up really fast, because every time I saw these numbers, I'm taking pictures, because I'm feeling like I've got to share this with somebody. And when I do, will they believe me? Right. And am I asking for it? Am I seeking for these license plates and bills and the time? And then I got to the point where, again, just like the notebook scenario, where it's like, okay, I'm seeing these. Now what? What am I going to do with these? And so it was like this rush of, okay, Jenny's opened the door now. And so my spirit team's like, hello, you're seeing it. And it's simply a language between you and your spirit guides, your creator, your angel team, whoever you work with outside of this meat suit, right? We all have somebody we're working with outside of this meat suit. So that spiritual awakening that started right around 2012, 2013, it was the number signs at first, and then the continued signs and synchronicities, and animals, animal totems, cardinals were tapping on my door, kid you not, at the bottom of my door, tap, 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 every morning at 9 o'clock.
Oh my God.
It was wild. Now, granted, I can go into the logical component of that, where male cardinals, if they see their reflection, they think it is another male cardinal, and they're going to do what? Try to go at it, right? Try to knock it out. Well, this one decided that there was his enemy, right, at my front door. But ultimately, I mean, I had a best friend that had passed that year, and I took it as a sign of her saying hello. And every single time that cardinal came knocking on my door, it was never a negative feeling. It was this rush of beautiful love of somebody that has passed, but also love of all. Yeah. And I think that's what really started opening the door to, there's just so much more than this. There's so much more than this. True. And that was the start of my spiritual awakening. It was slow and steady. It was not a lightning bolt coming down from the sky, right? It wasn't that way, but it was definitely, once the door was open,
you didn't
magic
close
started happening. No. And I didn't want to. Why would I, right?
Well, I think some people could be freaked out by it, if they didn't really understand what it was, and they're just like, I have a friend who, she feels like she's somewhat psychic, but she kind of pushes it down because she has this whole thing of like, well, God doesn't want me to be a psychic or say things or whatever. So she's, grappling with that whole thing. So it's like, okay, well.
Yeah. But let's talk about that, right? So the word psychic has such a negative connotation to it.
It does.
But in reality, every human being is psychic. And all psychic, the word psychic, all that is intuition. And how developed you are in listening to your intuition. So if your gut says turn left and you're used to going right, and you're like, I don't need to go left, I'll go right, and something happens, or you miss an opportunity. Are you following your gut? And you can hear it, you could see it in your mind, you can feel it, you could just know it, that you have to turn left. Every single one of us is psychic, but the term is what throws everybody off.
That is true. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So your the name Ascending Dawn Doula is very beautiful and poetic. So how did you choose it, and what does it mean to you?
Thank you. So I sat with the name. So I got all my ducks in a row, right? And I kind of did this in a flow state. It wasn't like creating this master plan of A, B, C, D, and by this date, and these goals, and this mission statement, and none of that. It was go with the flow, but I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And one of those first things was coming up with the name. But I chose to sit on it. Just let it come to me in that flow state. And this is when you have to be open to receiving. So my middle name is Dawn.
Okay.
And I've always loved the name Dawn. And I wanted to definitely incorporate the middle name into, because the break of dawn is such a beautiful thing. We can look outside of the window right before gray light. And as gray light's happening and dawn comes up.
Oh, beautiful. Every time.
I love it. I love it. And it's never the same.
Never. God never does anything the same.
No, it's always unique every single day. So dawn had to be a part of it. And I was going through, okay, well, I know that in 20, 30, 40 years, however long that it's going to be based off of what I'm guided to, I will be a full-time doula, an end-of-life doula. Not right here, right now, but as we progress, I'm going to be a doula. So, okay, Dawn and a doula. All right, let's out there. And the word ascending came up, ascending. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So ascending, Dawn, doula. Now looking back at it, what a marvelous gift. All of those words came in together in the sequence that they did. And looking back at what I've been able to do and work with the clients I've met. Oh my gosh, the clients I've met, I've been able just to work with them one-on-one. And it's like a new dawn for every single one. It's just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's soul transformations in every modality, but that comes with Ascending Dawn Doula.
That's super cool. Because having a business is always the first thing is figuring out, okay, I know what I want to do, but then what do I say it is? So that people are going to understand it and know, oh, I need that. Or, let me inquire more if I don't know exactly what it is. But some people come up with some strange names for things and you're like, what does that even mean? And then what do you do? And how does that correlate?
Well, even with what I do, there are so many different modalities that things can get lost in translation.
Yeah,
like, you do this also. Oh, you do that. Oh, yep. Because there's a common thread to all of it. But back then, when I'm picking out those modalities, like, yeah, I love that. No, this one doesn't resonate. Yes, I love this. No, that's whatever. I didn't see the thread. And I would not have seen a thread until I actually put it into practice.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think we're kind of past the, there was a thought, and maybe there still is somewhat, of like, you have to do one thing really good. You can't do multiple things. And it's like, I would be bored to death if I was only doing one thing every single day, 40 hours a week. I would die. That's like slow death for me. And there's some people that are great with that. They love their routine. It's this, it's that. But I think the term now is like multi-hyphenate or something like that. It's just for somebody who has multiple things that they love to do. And like you said, all of them are in thread. Like mine is style. I also do makeup. I do decoration, whatever. And so all of those things, the only thing that kind of doesn't fit is my signing service with notary stuff. But that just came as a result of the real estate that I was into. So, it's all similar. I'm helping people get something done and, helping them change their life in some sort of way. So,
and you're having fun doing it.
Exactly. Because I get to schedule my day.
That heart space.
Yes. I get to schedule my day however I like it to be. And
that's right.
That's the best thing for me, that one day I don't want to, if I don't get up till 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I can do that. Or if if I get up at 8 in the day, okay, I'm all right, But we need to give each other the permission to do that and not put people in these like rigid things of like, you have to do this and you have to do that. Maybe that works for you, sir, but it doesn't work for me. So
there are people that do like that clock in, clock out, and then they're on their, personal path in the evenings or whatever, depending on shift.
Yeah.
I think you and I are a little bit different. Like, we can embrace the clock in, clock out, but there's got to be a little bit more of a punch to it. So
yeah. Well, I want to be able to decide when I clock in and clock Not somebody else decided that for
I
me.
think that was your Sag freedom. I think we saw Sag in your chart.
Yeah, probably. Just like I'd like to float. I don't like all of this.
Yes.
Like, you got to be here this time. You got to leave this. No, sir. I
Well,
mean,
I'd be
unless,
late all the time. Are you kidding me? I'd
exactly.
be late. I'm always late. I'm still late.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's not like we're late because we don't respect people's times. I think a lot of it for me, I just don't. I get distracted for one, and two, I feel like I have more time than I really do until I start looking like, oh no, I'm gonna be late.
Yeah.
So, we all can't be perfect. It is what it is.
No.
But you guide people through career shifts and relationship changes, empty nesting, and even spiritual rebirths. So what do you believe is the common thread in every transition?
So I sat with that concept, the thought process for a while, because I did want to find what that common thread was, right? I've got hypnotherapy and past life regressions, intuitive readings and birth charts, and then end of life doula and career coaching. So what is that common denominator? And really what it comes down to is a soulful transition. So if you're, say for instance, your children are up and growing, and first one's up and out, and second one's up and out and off to college, you get a whole bunch of time back to yourself.
Yeah.
What do you do with that time? You're now an empty nester. What do you do with that time? And some people are super excited, and some people are like, who am I? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that is a milestone which can progress into a soulful transition. And same thing applies with careers. Same thing applies with investing time in your emotional and your mental and your spiritual health, and unpacking or, peeling back the layers of the onion as to, why do I always feel that way? It's a soulful transition and transformation.
Yeah, because it really is almost like a change of life. Sort of like what women, I mean, especially for women, because we go through so many changes. Whether you're a mom or whether you're not, we still go through a lot of changes, and we're always taking care of somebody.
Yes.
Whoever it might be. And so that it's a lot, and we really need to focus on self-care and, you can't pour from that empty cup. You got to fill up your cup. So, and speaking of that, for women who are in their 40s and 50s and beyond, and many of them who are redefining their purpose, what's one powerful practice that they can reconnect with their inner knowing? Because it's always been there. Like you said, our intuition, we just haven't been paying attention.
Yes. Yes. So what is one thing that we could guide on?
One practice, or like whether it's self-care, and like for me, it's massage or going to the gym, or, spending time with my friends, going to brunch or something like that, going to the movies with my husband, whatever, what's one thing? I mean, it's going to be different for everybody, right?
It's going to be different for everybody. So I would definitely tap into the enjoyment of the added time and the freedom, because there is some enjoyment that you can get from that. And what do you do to enjoy that time? You could go to the gym. You could take a walk. You can get a cat or 3. I mean, I've got 3 cats now, so I mean, you could do something with it, right? You can join a book club. And this is something that I actually did as my first one was starting to move up and out. The second one was progressing, and she was highly independent. And I joined a book club. And I met some amazing, amazing women who were also learning and further developing. So somebody who was on that path in their 40s, getting some free time, trying to re-identify because they know that there's something amiss, is connecting with the inner self, and then connecting with the outer self, connecting with the world, with the people that are surrounding you. Yeah, meditation's a really big tool that helps with that when you're connecting to the inner self. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't meditate. Well, practice makes perfect, even if it's 5 minutes, right? The biggest thing is to stop the to-dos in your life.
Yeah, your head does.
Oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. See, I got time for that later. I got time for that later. 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day to allow the quiet, and your soul will speak to you as to what are some items that you could tap into that would help you subjectively as compared to anybody else.
And I found a really cool app. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called Luminate. And so it's meditation, but it also incorporates like light frequency.
So like EMDR?
Kind of, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So you turn the phone around and the back camera, and so it, depending on, like, I did gratitude this morning, or
Nice.
what was the other one? I forget. My other phone is somewhere, but they have all these different ones that you can try, and then there's ones for sleep, like drifting off, like, or thinking about things like creativity. Like, it has all these cool different ones. Man, I'm
Nice.
telling you, I'm not a big meditator, but that has changed my life. I love it.
That is awesome.
It's
That is
really good.
awesome.
Really good if you get a chance to try it. So can you tell us about a client transformation that really moved you, like a moment that reminded you really why you do all the work that you do?
So with that question, I'm going to encapsulate that a little bit.
Okay.
With being a corporate recruiter, I'm still in recruiting. I still got my Monday through Friday, right? I
Okay.
still have a passion for that.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned, within recruiting, I have people that tend to come to me and talk to me behind the scenes and
Mm-hmm.
cry and release or look for some guidance.
Yeah.
Recently, we've had somebody who the writing was kind of on the wall. She was going through a lot of different things, and it ended up being her Saturn return. And she had no idea what that was, and that's not a problem. Lots of people don't.
Mm.
But she's talking about, her husband and the new baby and the job and how it's all overwhelming, and they're moving, but they're having relationship issues and da 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 da
There's a
da.
lot going on.
It was a lot. It was a lot, definitely. And we did some intuitive readings, and we sat with each other, and we calculated her birth chart and said, well, okay, this is a milestone moment, and it's not going to be an easy moment for you, but you're going to come out feeling darn good. You're going to be like, whew, all of this emotional release has happened. And she had pulled the Tower card in tarot, so it definitely said, hey, the foundation's getting a little shaky, lots of stuff going on, things have got to go bye-byes in order for you to breathe again.
Yeah.
And over the last 2 years, I have had the luxury of seeing her absolutely transform. She took the bull by its horns and said, you know what? I know this is going on.
Yeah.
And she transformed her life for the better. She moved, the child's growing, she's fulfilled, she's feeling happy, brand new job. Things are just blossoming for her. And she's in her early 30s now, but she was willing to say, you know what? I feel it. It's happening. And that's just one person. This is how crazy it is with, once you start just kind of laying seeds. And I try to be cautious with that within corporate America, right? Because I don't want to have anybody be like, whoa, who are you?
Yeah.
But like attracts like. People come to you when they're ready, when they're noticing that they need a little extra help. So that's going to be one that really caught my attention. But there have been many others in corporate America who are tired of the politics and just want to do a really good job. And they want to climb the ladder to success, but they need to revamp some certain things in their resume or come up with a different path on how to obtain. If you're looking at here and you're here, how do I get there?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to the corporate world aspect of it in many different companies that I've had, where it's just kind of people come to me in the right time, right space, and we work together with the different modalities. I think all of them help me because I'm helping them.
Yeah.
And it's just being with them and supporting and compassion, being absolutely present, because life is tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot going on in the world.
A lot.
And so you also help people release phobias. We didn't talk about that before, but so how's that connected to like deeper emotional or spiritual patterns? Where do phobias actually even come from? Is it something, is like they say, is it all in somebody's head, or is it like something real that happened and now they have, my son got bit by a copperhead snake one time, so now he's like, when it comes to snakes or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was real for him, you know what I mean? And it was right outside of my parents' house. He stepped on it and it bit him. So it was like, random. But again, other people have, agoraphobia, like spiders or like all these other things. Where does that even come from? And then how do you get rid of them?
Yeah, I love this question because this part of the modalities that I provide is so much fun. It's so much fun. So with hypnotherapy, we can do several different types of hypnotherapy. Just simply going into the subconscious and finding out where did that phobia come from. But the times that I've experienced this with clients, it's actually from past lives. So I'll give you an example. There was one lady when I was really ramping up on QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique. And it's very powerful, but not anything to get scared about or nervous about because you're fully in control. There was one lady that I was working with, and she had never had hypnotherapy done before. I was giving this service out as a complimentary service because you have to, do your work to get that certification, right?
Right.
And I met with her and we went into 3 different past lives. Now, one thing she had told me before we ever got started, we did the interview, the intake session, is that she had a fear of the water. Okay, let's talk about that then. Where do you think it came from? I have no idea. It's nowhere in my life. When I was a kid, I could swim like nonstop and have a great time. And as an adult, I'm terrified of it. Okay, all right. So let's jot that down. And then as we progressed into hypnotherapy, one of her lifetimes, she actually passed away. She actually transitioned from drowning. And it was in that 20-year-old, mid-20 time frame, which is where her phobia actually came back into this lifetime. She's like, I don't understand it. Where did it come from? It doesn't make any sense. I used to love to swim. And in a past life, she actually had drowned. And that was her way of transitioning. And it was just wild. It was wild to be able to go with her on that journey. And all it was a guided meditation. I'm guiding her through these different brainwave states. And she's the one that's communicating. And I always say with these sessions, don't second guess yourself. You might see something, you might hear something, you might feel something, you might just sense something. Just go with it. Don't get analytical. You can do that later.
Yeah.
And she was able to recognize where that phobia came from. And she was able to digest that a little bit over the next couple of weeks. Now, is she fully healed from that? No, we probably need to have another session, but she recognizes. She recognizes where it came from. So at least she can connect those dots and continue on her path in healing that trauma from a past life.
So I always had a thought, or not a thought, like a question about past life things. And would that be maybe something that came from, I don't know, like my grandmother? Because I don't know, the concept of thinking that I live more than one time doesn't really resonate necessarily with me. So I'm thinking like, well, maybe was it something in my ancestry line that came from fear of water, or or something happened to one of my people and that somehow that trauma got passed down through the line, or like how does that even work exactly?
So you're talking where you don't necessarily believe in more than one lifetime, right?
For me, I always felt like it was like you had one life and that was it. Like you came here, you lived,
YOLO.
That's it. Like,
right, YOLO.
Yeah.
It could have been. It could have been where in a past life you had possibly a traumatic closing down and you don't want to unfold that or unpack that or recognize that. Like this lifetime could really just be a freedom lifetime where you're breathing. Notice how I just took a deep breath with you, where you're breathing and you're enjoying your craft and your art and the foods that you eat, the pleasures of the world because of maybe a past life that just was not as pleasant. And that could be the case. You might just want to like turn that off there. And that's okay. It's free will by all means. And everything that we do in this life is free will.
True.
But there are some paths that are kind of laid out for us and we get to choose whether or not we want to open that door.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And so what do you say to people? Because I mean, I don't call myself a Bible thumper by any means. I can't deal with all of I don't want to call it religion. I'm not a religious person. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I pray, I go to church, but I don't believe in like shaming or guilting people into trying to change their ways and doing or judging them and all this other stuff. But like I hear, especially lately, a lot of people have been talking about astrology and psychics, like we were talking about earlier, and like how this is like demonic almost. And I'm like, okay, do we go that far with it? I don't know. Like, are we talking about witches or what are we talking about here? Like, what is it? What's the problem? Why is that a problem? Like, why is it such a thing that people have this whole about psychics, astrology,
Mm-hmm.
horoscopes, all of it. Like, what is that? Where did that come from? And like, how do we educate people on it?
All of that is amazing. I'm actually grabbing my selenite to pull it as I speak, so I can actually. I like to, when we get into topics like this, I like the communications to come out from our creator, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, I was born and raised Christian, progressing into Catholicism, and then I pulled out of Catholicism. But I do truly have a love for the ceremonial aspects of it, for the just the traditional aspects. It's beautiful, but religion, in my opinion, for me, is more of a safety box. And I get that safety box. I totally understand it. And I respect that. I do have a lot of people, ironically, though, that come to me and they're within that religion and they're willing to learn a little bit more because they also feel the spiritual tug of there's more to life than this. There's more to life than Sunday morning at 10 o'clock wearing your Sunday best and then going home and throwing back beers and watching football. There's more to this. There's more to this. And it's been such a rewarding journey to be able to connect with them. And a lot of them just, incognito. They don't want it out there because they're afraid of the stigma that's connected to it. In the Bible, there is a verse that does talk about mediums, necromancy, astrology. I'll have to get the verse. I do have it on my nightstand. And I even have a prayer about that too. But with that, the Bible has been translated from papyrus days of quill and papyrus of men who were the only ones that were able to write it out, to scribe it out. And it's been translated into many different languages over many different decades, centuries. You have older men who are in the middle of the night with their candle wax, right? And they're getting tired and they're translating this out. There's also the patriarchy aspect of it. So flip side of that, you could open that door to birth charts and astrologies and to all kinds of things, let's say magical. Some people prefer woo-woo. And you possibly could go down a different door. Yeah. Right? So there is a balance component that I always recommend. You have to know and connect with your team, with your creator, with your angels, your spirit guides, whoever it is, again, that you call on outside of this meat suit. You also need to clear your energy of anything that's not yours. So when we're done here today, I'm going to give you all your energy back. It's your energy. You get to take it. I don't need to have it. I love your energy. Yeah. But with your energy, right, I'm like, you're like glue, right? You stick on because you're a beautiful, bright light. There's energy. Yes. Point back to you. There are lots of folks that are curious, but there are lots of folks that are trigger shy, understandably. Yeah. And I personally work with God. I work with the archangels. I clear my energy every single day. I call in Archangel Michael for protection every single day, multiple times of the day. So for those that want to judge, let them judge. It's okay, because I'm still going to love them anyway. We are all one. We are all here learning and growing together. And there's so much more than life, than this. Yeah. So much more. Yeah.
And I've just felt to ask, because I know there'll be somebody who'll be like, why are you talking about, and for me, I've always loved astrology in the sense of, like, just, not that you can put everybody in their little box of what their sign is, la la la, but it gives you some sort of insight into a little bit of the personality of the person, because I mean, what else are you going to go by, Yes. And so for me, it was always that, not necessarily like, oh, my horoscope said this is going to happen today. Like, I don't really get into that, because again, stuff happens the way it happens, and God has more to say about that, I feel like, than somebody writing that out on a piece of paper. But like I love learning about myself and about people that are close to me, so that I understand how to move in life and behave, and not behave, but like, understand why I am the way I am, or why I behave in certain ways, and why this came up, or what is this thing that's happening, and now I'm having this reaction to it. Like, why
Yeah.
is that? So I'm endlessly curious about that. So,
Well, think of the 5 love languages, the book, The 5 Love Languages, right?
right.
We enjoy that book because we get to learn a little bit more about our style,
Mm-hmm. And your
right? And a little
person.
bit of our person style. But
Mm-hmm.
you can even apply that to your family members. I've taken
Yeah.
the 5 love languages, dissected the heck out of it, and then I also observe. That's the other factor with astrology and numerology and all of that is observation. You get the little nugget of information, but then you start to observe.
Yeah.
And I know what my daughter's love language is. I know what my son's, what my husband's, what my best friends are, but I also know the birth charts.
Yeah.
And I can give some amazing gifts.
Yeah, I think it's just a cool thing, and I don't, I feel like it gets I remember a verse in the Bible that talked about, I think the problem with it, or what people associate it with, it's just like money, right? It's people always misconstrue the verse, the love of money, or money is the root of all evil, when it's not the money, it's the love of the money, because that drives you to do unconscionable things. It drives your integrity. It makes you lose your integrity. All these things, but people always misinterpreting things, or not seeing what it is. So I think a lot of the things with what it talks about in the Bible about psychics or readers or whatever, is that I think God wants you to come to Him, not to another person, to for your wisdom or whatever. But you can get wisdom from anywhere. Somebody could be standing on the corner and say something you've been wanting an answer for forever, and then this person who's not even talking to you could say something, and you're like,
right,
oh, dang, that could be literally God talking to you through this person,
and it resonates. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you can't eat the meat and spit out the bones, is what I feel.
Yeah.
Well,
see, and that was the part where you could go into a different place with this, right? You could go and just rely on your medium or rely on your horoscope. But what you just said was on point. It's actually building a connection to the team that is guiding you and protecting you and loving you and providing for you, right? Exactly. I connected with the great I am a couple of days ago, and it was God, but it was in the middle of the night, and I felt it coming out of my chest. It was God. It was our creator, and basically saying, I am everything. The blades of grass, the air that you're breathing, the crystal on your credenza there. I am everything, and we're all connected. And it was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is Christ consciousness, right? We know about Jesus. We are to embody what it's like to be a loving person on this planet, with having boundaries, not having people taking advantage of us.
Right.
But see, that's where you can embody all of these things together and really contribute to society without being that, oh, well, I just made $500 off of that person, right? And shame on those people for doing that. If that's your sole purpose, you got some inner work you got to get done, bud. So
it's true. Yeah. I mean, we won't go we'll go on down that rabbit hole, but I did want to go back to your doula, because I had a couple of questions for that. So how do you bring peace and awareness into the dying process for both the individual and the loved ones?
You have to bring yourself. You have to be present. You have to show up. For me, I'm going to go back to the most recent client. I clear my space before I ever go in, because I want my space to be fully clear. I don't want to bring anything in that's not theirs.
Right.
I also protect with Archangel Michael, and I go into their home and I meet them where they're at. I bring in a little bit higher of vibrations, bring in some joy, and I connect with wife, and I connect with daughters, and I'm connecting with the patient and observing. That's a big, big thing. Observing. What's the behavior style? What's the sitting style? What's the eating style? What's the personality style? So after that very first or second session of really getting to know them, it's educating them little nuggets of the way. If they're ready for full throttle, here's what's going to happen. Here's what could happen. Here are the signs of, the death rattle or the surge of energy, and then the next 2 days they pass away. If they're ready for the information, again, meeting them where they're at. But it's slow and steady at first. becoming their companion, compassion, supportive guide throughout the process. Meeting them where they're at is going to be the biggest factor, though.
And one thing too, I wanted to, because I know some people who may not have known, like when you were talking about clearing your energy and things, that just means clearing your own junk, right? Like you're not coming in there with your attitude about what happened earlier with this person or the argument you had with your spouse yesterday. Like you're clearing yourself of all the junk that could, filter out what's happening with the person you're anything, like, when you're going into a meeting or you're going to an interview or anything you're doing when you're meeting with another person, it's good to like just center yourself, clear out your mind of all the stuff that has nothing to do with what you're about to do.
Yes, beautifully explained. I'm going to tell you, that's the one tool that I see as a common denominator with every single person I meet with. And it's exactly that. It's clearing your energy and energetically bubbling up yourself, but then clearing it again when you're done for the day.
Yeah.
Right. Because even when you're sleeping, you're, off in dream world, and it's good just to clear your energy, getting grounded and clearing your space.
Yeah. Because you just don't want to drag all that around. It's like dragging a dead body around. We want to leave like the bag lady song. We want to leave the garbage bags outside. We're not going to take that into the next day, the next moment. We're going to leave that stuff on the curb. No more.
Yeah.
So what has working with those who are at the end of their life taught you about how to live?
Ooh. So the phrase, it's actually a word, but it's become a phrase in my mind. Right? We've got the word, and I've said it a couple times here today, but I think that I'm being guided to continue saying it so other people hear it. We know the word enjoy, right? ENJOY.
Right.
Enjoy. Like I enjoyed my chocolate ice cream last night. Right. And I ate it all and it was fabulous. But if you break the word into two words, being in and joy, being in and joy. I think that's one of the biggest things that I can get out of providing that service is by being in joy. It provides you to be able to be in flow. Yeah. You're not gluttonous. You're not, going crazy and, but like you're in joy. Now, does that mean not having sadness? No. Or anger? No. All of those are normal human emotions, and we should feel them. We should feel them instead of stuffing them down. But I think the biggest phrase, no longer a word, the phrase of being in joy is one of the biggest things that anybody can take away from these experiences.
I love that. Yeah, because I think we've been taught to like, oh, you have, your happiness comes when you have the car or the job or the marriage or the this.
Why?
And nobody's enjoying the journey along the way. No. You're just like, no, I'll be happy when I get this. I'll be happy when I get that. And then you get it and you're still not happy. And then you're on to the next thing. And it's like this endless like cycle of crazy. And like, that's no way to live.
No.
It's like eating all the candy and then you crash because like you don't need to eat the whole thing of ice cream or the whole potato chip bag, then you're feeling mad about, oh God, I shouldn't have done that. It's like too much.
Right.
So balance and what is the other word? Moderation in everything.
Yeah. But when you're in joy, and you basically just said that when you're in joy, you are present. Yeah. Right? You're not looking 5, 10, 15 years down the road. No, you're in the present. That is mindfulness. And being mindful is so powerful. And it's not like, oh, I've got all the gold in the world powerful. It's power over self. Yeah. Right? Power with our team. Being present is just, it's hard for a lot of people to do. Yeah. But practice does make perfect.
Yes. Because there is a difference between being in, like, being in your feelings and experiencing your emotions. So there's like two different ways. And I think a lot of us don't know how to regulate that, like regulating your nervous system so you're not so
my gosh,
anytime somebody does or says anything, you're just flipping off. And it's like, man, there's a lot of people that just need to sit down and breathe.
But look how we're conditioned now as a society. We're multitasking with everything. We've got our we've got our idiot box with us, our dummy box with us all the time, right? We're always go, 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 thinking 3 steps ahead. That's fight or flight.
Yeah, no.
That's not being in the present and being in joy. That is your nervous system. Your blood is boiling. Your blood pressure's increasing. It's not being in a rest and relaxation mode.
No.
So many of us, just based off of how we are raised, and at no fault of our parents by any means, because they didn't know any better, just like the previous generations didn't. We learned, but we have the option now to change that for ourselves.
Yep.
And to change that for our society and our communities, to slow down, calm the nervous system, put on some good binaural beats or a tongue drum on YouTube, right? Clear the vagus nerve. Clear it up.
Yeah, people. There's a lot of people. I mean, I imagine a lot of people don't even know what regulating your nervous system is or what it looks like. But it's a good practice to start, like doing your EFT tapping, like the meditation, whatever.
Love it.
Tapping. I've been doing more tapping, so now it's like I've gotten to the point when somebody does something annoying, I just blink, just kind of look at them.
Right.
I there's a movie I saw not too long ago. It was on Netflix. It's called Rebel Ridge. And the guy in there, I aspire to be the level of unbothered that he is. Even when people are losing their minds, he's just like, you know what I mean?
Stoic.
Not that you don't have any emotion per se, but you're not in your feelings and you're not reacting off of somebody else's trauma ego spiral that they're having and not feeling like you need to log something back to them, you know, because that's just where we're at, and people are losing their minds. It's not good.
But what a great way of leveling up. Living your soul, going back to the 40-year-olds and the 50-year-olds and the 60-year-olds. We're all conditioned, right?
Yeah.
But what a way to level our soul up and level our life up, right? By being present, being mindful, being in joy, calming that fight or flight. That fight or flight, just we're on so many medications now because of it, and I hate to say that, but it's where we're at.
It's no bueno, all the medications that people are on, and my daughter's burning down the house. So she's cooking something, so that's the noise. Hey, you know, what do you do? So one of the last things I wanted to ask you are what legacy do you hope to leave behind, not just professionally, but soulfully?
Ooh, that's a really good one. That's a really good one. What legacy? I mean, I think that really it's just doing good for the community, being your most authentic self while contributing to society. And this is on the fly. This is what's literally coming out right now. A lot of us have grown up where we shy away from the world, where we put our masks on and we hide and we don't show our authentic, genuine self because we're afraid of the ridicule or somebody saying what you're doing is wrong or, you know, have you, whatever the case may be. But I think for me, my legacy would be being your own authentic, quirky, fun-loving self. Talk to the birds, talk to the trees, enjoy life, and do good for your community. And I think that when I make my final transition from this earth plane, I do believe that the folks that know me best will say that's how I live my life. It took me a little while to get there. Yeah. It takes time, but I think that's the legacy I'll leave behind.
And so just for those who maybe haven't gotten to the point of their authentic self, what's one step or couple things that they need to do to figure that out? Because, you know, I think a lot of people spend time being what other people think they should be or what other people have told them they are or whatever. So how do they begin to, like, you know, that's not really me. How do I figure out what is me? You know what I mean? It's sort of like style, you know, it's like people are like, I looked at the magazine or I looked at the Halle Berry and I said, oh, I kind of want to dress like her, but it's not necessarily who you are. You might like her confidence, but it's not necessarily about what she's wearing, you know, either. But you want to look good in your own, something that'll look great on you. And so it's the same thing with being, you know, your authentic self. How does one begin to do that?
Oof. So the book, okay, this is a good one. This is an easy one. This is an easy read for anybody who's interested. The book, Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins, yes.
It does come into play where it's like If someone's going to judge you, let them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in a let them kind of way.
Yeah.
It's okay. Let them. Why am I going to allow somebody else's possible reality rent free here in my brain?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I let that happen? Because then that starts the monkey mind or the itty bitty, not so nice committee, right?
Yeah.
You need to get rid of that. That's the other thing, is get rid of this, like this
Yeah.
jibbita of
Yeah.
I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or that blouse doesn't look the right way, or my hair is too flat today. Stop. Who cares?
Yeah.
When you can kind of put that to the side, your authenticity starts to come out, and it does start to shine.
Yeah.
I've not been this way my entire life. I literally was
Me either.
always hiding, wallflower, uber introvert, not sharing my thoughts, feelings, self to the world. And it does take time. It does take practice. But
Yeah.
when I can see another authentic person come out and be like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm like, yes, let's do this. Let's go have some coffee or tea, or let's talk for hours.
Yeah, for sure. And I think by us being able to do that, it gives other people permission to start to do that as well.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because words don't teach, examples, and living it does, basically. Yep. So
absolutely. Could you imagine a world where we all are just our genuine selves and not worried about how we are perceived by others? How amazing would that be?
That would be like, I don't even know how that would work. Because, I feel like people are always just trying to be something other than themselves. Not always, but a lot of the time. And you can feel that when you're in your authentic stuff. You can feel when somebody else is not. It's just like, that doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
Something's going on there, but okay, we don't need to say anything.
And we do have certain levels of masks that we provide. So corporate America, I'm not going to be, all magical and woo-woo, and I'm going to taper it down just a little bit.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, we have.
But I'm still authentic.
Yes, you still say what you think, but just maybe not with the bit of sass you might give some other.
I'm not going to walk the hallways and sprinkle it with fairy dust. I'm not going to do that. Although I do sage on Friday afternoons when no one's around, but that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. What do you do? What you got to do?
Clear the space.
Keep the energy, the bad juju away. Yeah. Most of the time when people start acting like a little whatever, I just like, okay, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to mind my business. I'll be down.
They've got a spray for that. They've got a little sage spray for that.
I see, when I work at the restaurant, I can't exactly just walk up and spray.
No.
As much as I would want to be like, out, spirit, out. I can't do that. They'd be like, what the hell?
You ruined my grilled cheese.
Yeah, my boss would not approve, and it would be a whole health situation, be called in because I'm spraying over people. Whatever. So we just that's why we just remove ourselves. We just I'm gonna let.
But that's the best way to do it. Yeah, yes. You go in the back. You take a couple, like 3 or 4 grounding deep breaths in, recalibrate that nervous system. Right.
Gotta take a time out. I'll let Rahel will take care of you. I'll be back. Can't. Not today. Not today. Not today.
No way.
Where can listeners find you, work with you, or experience one of your intuitive sessions?
Oh, thank you. So I have the handle of Ascending Dawn Doula. And I know that's a mouthful, but if you can remember, ascending is ASC, ending, right? So Ascending Dawn Doula. And that's on all of the platforms, but then also on my website, ascendingdawndoula.com. And that'll take you straight over to, if you want to book a 20-minute intake session with me, complimentary, it'll take you over to my scheduling platform, and you can see all of my availability and services and some reviews, because there are people that do get nervous, like, I'm interested, but I don't know how to do this, and what's my first step? And so they can kind of check out some of the reviews as well.
I love that. And I did have a session with you, and it was amazing. So just to let everybody know, that's my review. I have my report here. It's beautiful. And it's been such a great talk with you. I love educating people about things that they don't necessarily know about, or they have reservations about, or they're curious, but like, man, I don't know. This gives people some insight into who you are, what you provide, and how you can help people. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for arranging this. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been amazing. So thank you all for joining us on Fabulous Women Over 40, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe so you won't miss our next conscious conversation with Kara and her fabulous guests. Follow Kara on social, on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Clubhouse, @Kara Allan, and connect with her on her website at karaallan.com. Also, leave a review if you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again, and see you next time.